Okay, we're a couple minutes in. I'm going ahead and get started, and I'm sure we'll have a couple folks join us a little bit later here as well, but I will go ahead and monitor that. So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to today's webinar, which is Mastering Your Business Identity, Embrace the Power of Brand Discovery, hosted by Local First Arizona's own Anita Rochelle Works. Really excited to have Anita lead us tonight. My name is Alyssa Pruitt, and I'm really excited to be your moderator for this session. I'm going to be helping out with the chat, and I'll be fielding any questions. There will be some engagement as well, so please, if you have the opportunity to get your camera on and take yourself off mute, Anita will be involving you in some questions tonight. I wanted to share with you too, I will be sending an email following the workshop to share a summary from this evening, and then also to share with you our upcoming events. Building a strong brand identity is not just about a logo or a catchy slogan. It's all about crafting a narrative that resonates with your audience, communicates your values, and sets you apart in a competitive market. So over the next 90 minutes, we'll be delving into the essential aspects of brand discovery and discussing why it's so crucial for local businesses to embrace their story. So thank you so much for being here. Let's make this webinar fun and engaging. And now I will hand it over to Anita to get us started.
Thank you, Alyssa, for the warm introduction. I would like to say hello to everyone and thank you for carving out some time to share your evening with me. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Uh-oh. Hold on one second. If you don't mind, bear with me 1 second. Let me get this together here. Okay, and let me go into I got it together. So hello, I want to again thank everyone for joining. My name is Anita Rochelle Works, and on behalf of Local First Arizona and the ESTT, I will be your host for Mastering Your Business Identity, Embrace the Power of Brand Discovery. And today I am prepared to just to share the fundamentals of branding and what that means. I will also like to share with you that it's through experience that I have as a business owner and also just as a business resource manager working with businesses that businesses have often had challenges in just identifying their brand and also identifying who their customers are. So I really just want to go through just some fundamentals as we, journey through brand discovery. I also want to add that the traditional big box branding style that's typically used is not so much the best method when it comes to small businesses. And I'll go into a little bit more of that and we'll be able to engage. So I hope that everyone will be willing to ask questions and, take in everything that you need and let's get started. Go ahead and get into it. So branding, what is branding? So when we think of branding, the first thing we think of, it's a big word and sometimes it's not fully understood, right? So when we think of branding, let's in a definition perspective, it's the identity of a business, right? But it's in the mind of the target audience and the consumer. And so that is one key point that we have to understand, that the brand identity is not so much what you think, it's actually what others think of your business, okay? So that's why we have to be very mindful of the story that we want to share about who our business is, because that's the story that they'll tell. Are there any questions? Okay, thank you. All right. And so then we'll go ahead and get into, before we can really get into branding, I also want to diffuse some of the misconceptions when it comes to branding. The misconceptions essentially have been, I guess, positioned in a way that as a business owner, we are not required to know everything, and we have to really rely on other people to support us. And then sometimes, it can be pretty pricey, so really these are really just some core fundamentals that assist you in either being your own brand strategist or working with a professional. So I want to be able to diffuse some of the miscommunications just so that we're clear in the best way in providing your brand discovery. So the myths, branding is only about the logo and design. The reality, branding is what people think and feel about a product, company, or person. In actuality, branding is not really just the logo, right? It also, though the logo is actually a small fraction, okay? It's a very small equation. So that's why I always, share with businesses, don't start with your logo first. You want to at least identify the brand identity. So as we continue, I will get more into why we should always start with the brand identity first, okay? The next myth is only big companies need branding. The reality, small businesses and individuals can also use branding to stand out and build loyal customers. This is true. Regardless of the size of the business, everyone needs branding. Okay, so it's just a matter of just understanding how you frame your framework of your branding and how you identify your business, right? The third misconception is once you have a brand, it's permanent. Brands must change to stay relevant and keep connecting with people as the world changes. This is true because marketing trends change, goodness, customer preferences changes as well. So there are some things that will need to change, but one thing that will remain permanent is your brand. Number 4, branding is just about selling things. The reality, branding is also building trust, happiness, and lasting customer relationships. And this one is really key because when we look at small businesses really have an edge on branding as opposed to big businesses because small businesses have the uniqueness in developing that relationship. The likelihood for me to walk into Flaming Oats and see Bevla is greater than me walking into let's see, Starbucks and seeing the owner of Starbucks. So the point I'm making is you have the opportunity to make real connections. And see, when we look at the trends in terms of how we market our business and how we identify our business, it's all about being personable and personalizing that. So there's always opportunities. And I think you have far more advantages as a small business to be able to market your business. The last myth, branding costs too much for small businesses. The reality, investing in branding can lead to more profits in the long run by attracting loyal customers. This is right. So one thing that I will say is that as a small business owner, you cannot afford not to invest into your business. So yes, there are costs, but what cost does that mean when you make the leap into going into being your own, having your own business? So it really adds to the value. And when people want to do business, they want to do business with people that are confident, and they also want to do business with people that they like. So in order for you to know who likes your business, you have to make the investment to know who your target audience is. Are there any questions? No questions? Okay. Well, I do have a question. I would like to know, is there anyone here on the line that here on the webinar that would like to add some information, some misconceptions that they thought about branding? Don't everybody speak at once.
I've heard sometimes people think that your colors and things like that. I know that you were saying earlier logo, but I've also heard people say like your brand colors is another thing that you should really focus on.
Right. And you know what? So that's the color aspect. We will get into that. And actually that's really connected to your visual identity, and we'll cover that. So just hang on with me, okay? Thank you for that. Gayla is your name? Thank you.
Yes,
Gayla.
you're
Okay.
welcome.
Okay. So now that we've covered branding, the misconceptions, now let's get into some differences here. So branding and marketing has often been used interchangeably, and they are two separate concepts. Just think of it. Branding is the driver, marketing is the vehicle. Okay. So I just want to go through some of these are the common um, avenues in terms of people looking at branding versus marketing. So the top 5 are: branding is what makes you unique. Marketing is to convey your message. And that is true. Branding makes you unique because that's your brand identity. The marketing conveys your message because it's the vehicle to connect you with those customers, right? Or with your ideal audience or your ideal client or your target audience. And then number 2, branding comes first versus marketing comes second. That is true, because once you have a brand identity, then in terms of being able to identify the marketing strategies of marketing methodologies that's available, it's easier to be able to identify those. And most times, business owners, you spend quite a bit of money on marketing and it doesn't work. Why it doesn't work? Because we have to go back and we have to visit your brand identity. Number 3, branding is forever versus marketing strategies changes with time. This is true. Your brand does stay the same, but marketing strategies must change because, again, marketing trends change, the economy change, customer preferences change. So those are things that you have to factor in when it comes to marketing strategies. But what's really helpful is that when you know who your brand identity, when you have a strong brand identity and you know your target audience, just shifting those marketing strategies, it would be a breeze. Then we have number 4, branding helps to retain customers' attention versus marketing helps to get the customer's attention. Again, are you seeing how marketing is the driver? How marketing is the vehicle. It's strictly connecting you to people, attracting the people that you want to do business with, right? And then the last one, branding provides customer loyalty and brand awareness versus marketing produces sales. So branding and marketing, it works together, but without marketing, you can't make the money, right? So we do go in business, one, because we enjoy it, but it's also to make money as well. So I just wanted to just share with you just some common differences. So there are 2 totally different concepts. So if you think of it as branding being the driver and marketing being the vehicle, then it may help, put some perspective in terms of how you identify yourself and connecting with your ideal audience. Are there any questions? Y'all too quiet for me. Okay. Well, and one thing I wanted to add when it comes to branding and marketing, I'll give you a prime example. Oftentimes businesses, they will focus more or less on buying up inventory or maybe focusing on their website. Those are 2 strategies that will really kind of handicap your brand in terms of identifying your brand identity, because if you haven't solidified your brand identity, those challenges will be long-term. There will be challenges because you've put together a website and you've created language and communications around a whole premise and not even knowing who you're talking to. So we'll get into the brand voice and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but I just wanted to add that. So now we get into the fundamentals of branding. And I essentially identified these fundamentals because, as I said, that when we deal with, when we look at the bigger businesses, the way the larger businesses brand is, it's a conventional style, right? But when it comes to small businesses, there's some tweaking that needs to happen. And when I suggest the branding style, I would also say that there are a variety of methodologies out there, right? So there's no one size fits all, especially when it comes to branding. But when we look at small businesses are definitely relationship driven. So there is an advantage, and I can't say that enough. But I'll start with the first fundamental in establishing your brand identity is your core values. Your core values essentially is what you care about. It's the big why behind your business. It's your work perspective. Your core values also it's not really just, well, it's not, they are words, but it's not just words. It's also the actions and the decisions that will help you during challenging times. I'm not for sure what your professional backgrounds are, but if you have ever worked in corporate America, for whatever reason, you decided to leave and you wanted to launch your own business, right? And in that, one thing that probably nudged you to launch your own business is, working in a corporation. Typically, they have core values, and sometimes, the core values just don't really align with, where you are, and sometimes that will have an impact on the decisions that we make. So, if you ever worked at a company and you left and you went to another company, most chances are it was because the core values just were not there. And the thing when it comes to core values, these are things that define who you are and who you are in business. And I like to focus more or less on core values because as a business owner, for you to launch your own business, I want you to feel comfortable, feel authentic, and I want you to be able to create a space that you wanted to have. You don't want to create a space that you just came from, so that was one reason why I feel that core values is the foundation of your business that actually inspires your unique value proposition. Your unique value proposition is what makes you different. Why should I buy from you? It sets you apart from your competitors. And then it transitions to your ideal customer. Your ideal customer is who you're selling to. We'll get into that because that's like one of the top questions that most business owners ask. How do I identify my ideal customer? Your ideal customer comes from your unique value proposition. It's what you're offering, your brand voice. That's how you communicate across all mediums, even including social media, from an email to a stationery, just all of that embodies the level of communication that you have that represents your brand identity and your visual identity. I believe, Gayla, you had asked about that. So your visual identity, that is basically the elements, the design of your brand. And it's almost like just communicating visually. When we think of like McDonald's, and I have this an example a little later, but when you think of McDonald's, if you see those golden arches anywhere, you automatically know, and that's part of the visual identity of who McDonald's is. Are there any questions? So since you no one wants to ask any questions, I'm going to ask you a question.
Anita, I do have one quick question from chat.
Okay.
How do you stay up to date on trends to create a strong brand strategy? So what is the best way to stay up to date on trends, and what are some suggestions you might have?
What market is the person in? So in retail?
In gift baskets.
She's in gift baskets. Well, just being in gift baskets so that would be along the lines of gifts. When you think about gift giving, how often is gift giving? You have Mother's Day, you have Father's Day. And so just being able to watch those trends are more or less attached to retail trends. Did that answer your question?
Gotcha. Well, I think more of the question too is how do you stay up to date, or do you have some ideas on what kind of things businesses could do to stay relevant and up to date on what the latest and greatest is?
Well, what I would suggest is just looking for business insights and just reading up, and that's why I asked if you were in retail, because retail, they have quite a bit of consumer insights. I don't want to recommend any news station or any source or whatnot, but business trends, retail trends, all those are good resources to be able to capture the trends, marketing trends. And one thing I will say is that anytime the economy is, kind of like in a fragile mode, people typically don't spend money as much. So, I mean, that's just, another way to be able, to gauge trends.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions? Okay.
I have a question about your ideal customer.
Uh-huh.
My business is very new, and you say the brand identity comes first, which it seems like that's kind of a natural thing, is to start with that because you know your product and what you created. And but what I'm kind of like grappling with is identifying who my ideal customer is and how to communicate to that customer my brand. Because who I thought I was creating my product for, I'm learning is not that customer. I'm actually starting to see who is attracted to my brand, and it's a surprise to me. It's not at all who I thought it would be. So
Right.
I'm having to figure out, okay, now I have to think of other marketing strategies for targeting that market that I didn't even know I had. I'm learning that I have, which is a completely different market than what I thought I was going to have.
Right.
So I don't know if that means I should adjust my brand identity, but maybe not, because I'm learning that there are customers that I didn't even think I would be selling to that's interested in my product. So maybe the branding is right, but my marketing might need to be adjusted now.
Well, you know what? We are going to get into that, but I will share with you that remember, your brand identity is actually the identity in the mind of your consumer, of your customer. So I don't think you really need to adjust your marketing. I just believe that you may need to flush out your brand identity. And that's why I strongly say that you want to be mindful of the story that you share about your business, because that's the story you want people to tell. And so we'll get into the ideal customer, because I think that with you saying that you have attracted people who you didn't think you were going to attract, so that's maybe a good thing. You know what I mean?
No, it is. I'm actually excited about it, because I
Yeah.
didn't really know who my customer was going to be. I was just guessing,
Yeah.
and I
Well,
imagine you learn that over time. Once you know your brand is out there and you're exposing it, you're going to learn who your customer actually is. But it may surprise you. It might not be at all who you think it is.
Right. And one thing I would like to add is that being a new business, you may not know, so you kind of have to do like a beta test and just kind of find out, almost like, if you ever created an ad or something like that, you do an A and a B.
Right.
And the thing about it is, it could be the very same image and you just change the words up, or it could be the very same words, you just change the image up. So sometimes you do have to test it, because the market is real fickle. And I think that just with the surge of online businesses, I mean, it has really shifted the dynamic in how people shop, the way people think, and all that kind of good stuff. So that's why I said that your brand always stays the same, but the marketing aspect will change. So it's just, I always think like the driver is going to be the driver, but I may just get another car. You know what I mean? Because the marketing is the vehicle. Okay, so I appreciate that question. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the first phase of the fundamental. So the first fundamental will be core values. Okay, and so as I share with you, the core values essentially is the identity of the business in the mind of the target audience of the consumer. Okay, so again, Bevla, that's what you created, the way you see your business. that may not be the way your customers see it, you know, and so that's kind of some of the premise how you're able to track others, right? Which is fine, you know, because you're in business, you're doing business, and everything is good, right? And so I just want to just share with it that your brand, it actually establishes who you are and the value that you deliver. And that's really essential in, you know, in your business. Okay. So as I said, with it being your why is, it's important. And so your core values are like the fundamental piece. And one thing that I've noticed is that when you identify your core values and you hold tight to those, you know, it really helps you in your decision-making process, you know, different challenges that you have. If you stand by integrity, transparency, let's say, what's another one? Goodness. Well, let's just use those two. If you stand by those two, then you absolutely know that people are going to hold you accountable for that. And with me as a business resource manager, working with business owners, I always share my core value. And I'm Margarita. I don't know if you remember, but I did share like my core value is I don't know all the answers, but I'm willing to look for the solution. And I use that because first of all, I do value that business owners even trust me. You know what I mean? I value their time, and I just feel that that's my level of responsibility to at least find a solution. Now, it may take me a minute, but I'm definitely going to find the solution because I want them to succeed. And the way I see it is when I work with a business, if you don't do good, I don't do good. You know, so when I have, you know, business owners sharing that I can't identify this, then I say, look, we got to go back to the drawing board. So it's all a matter of just being able to self-identify who we are and also who we are in business. Would anyone like to share why they even started their business?
I would like to share.
Okay.
Let me turn my video on. I am. Hi, my name is Farida. I have a brand that the name is Munchies Cake. It's a cheesecake in a jar, a local business, and the value is something that I have struggled a lot. And I actually opened I have a document with the values I wrote, but you ask right now why did I start with this business, right? Well, I wanted to do something for myself, like just stop working for somebody else. And I had years telling my mother that she should sell these cheesecakes because the recipe is originally from her. She started to make and sell cheesecakes when she got divorced and started her own hustling journey. So I always told her, why don't you sell them? Like, do this, like people love them. So I said, well, if I'm always telling her that this would work, why don't I give it a chance and do it? I have the recipe, I know it works, and I want to do something for myself. So that's basically why I started my business.
Awesome. Awesome. Do you have core values for your business?
Well, I wrote some.
Okay.
I will share. So
okay.
I wrote, it's best to do one thing really, really well. Focus on one product, because my brand is only about cheesecake in a jar.
Okay.
I have a variety of flavors, but it's just a cheesecake in a jar.
Okay.
Another value I wrote is creativity. Like how to put everything that I want, all my ideas in a jar.
Okay.
Simplicity, because it's a recipe we all love, but it's delivered in the most practical way, you know, because every time in the past that I get a cheesecake, it's this triangle and it's in this ugly plastic plates. Personally, I don't like them because they have like this texture. I don't know, it's weird. And then the cheesecake gets stuck in that texture. And so I think that the jar is practical, it's clean. I wrote also passion. I wrote safe, clean. I wrote service. listen to our community, hug them, treat them, and social responsibility, and sustainable
That's awesome.
with a jar. But I don't know, I really have doubts with these values that I wrote.
Okay. Well, if you have doubts, then we may need to hash through and see what you are mostly connected to. And see, the thing about your core values, they really don't change. It's just, I guess the way you position in terms of priorities. But we meet on the 25th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have
So we'll
special.
connect then.
All
Thank
right.
you for sharing, Fa.
Thank you, Anita.
Uh-huh. So here I would like to provide some examples. So these are examples, and now I pulled this information off the internet, okay? So I don't know how many of you are familiar with Trader Joe's, but Trader Joe's is, the laid back grocery store with the nautical theme or whatnot. Well, their core values are producing experiences in integrity. Headspace, which is it's an app, a meditation app, and their whole mission is to improve the health and happiness of the world, right? And their core value is courageous heart, curious mind. And then Nike, the global brand, sports brand, their core values are innovation and team. Facebook, we know who Facebook is, right? Expressive and uniting. And ADP, in HR benefits global organization, it's insightful, expertise, and service excellence. So these are their core values, but I wanted to just share, like on a personal note, is that, your core values are very essential, and they're very personable. Okay. And I did share with you that I know I have shared with some businesses before that if they felt comfortable with it, to go ahead and share it on your website. Let people, let it be a public, let it be posted publicly so that people can know who you are and also hold you accountable. But knowing who you are actually is an attraction to be able to draw those people that share those core values to you. So far, I know you had addressed, you said sustainability, and it was something else that you had shared, but you have people that are very environmental conscious, so that may be an attraction. So, you can just identify core values that resonate with you, and actually will resonate with your ideal customer. Okay. And so we're looking for those people, the ideal customer, people that want to do business with you and people that appreciate your offer. Are there any questions?
Anita,
Yeah.
I do have one from Michelle about, and it might be a little bit later that we address this in the workshop, but Michelle asks, once we figure out our brand and consumer pool, how do we decide what the best marketing tactic is? So I think Michelle is asking, after all of these elements come together and we've, decided our brand and our ideal customer, how do we decide marketing tactics? Do we talk a little bit about that tonight, or would that be a future session?
Well, you know what? I would like to touch on that just because she asked, and if she will allow me to get to the end, to the
Sure.
conclusion part, and we can talk about those, because actually I think this will be a great lead in to Sophia's workshop.
Okay, great. And I'm sorry, I might have interrupted somebody. I think someone else might have been talking too.
Okay.
Is there another question that someone had? Gayla?
I didn't have a question. I was just going to say, I have my mission statement and my values on my website, but you just gave me a good idea that I can express those, my values on my social media, because I haven't done that as I'm building my brand, so that people who don't go to the website but might find me on Instagram or whatever will know more about what my values are. So I just wanted to say that you triggered an idea that I hadn't thought about.
Well, thank you. That's what I'm here for, Gayla. If you don't mind sharing, what kind of business do you have? You're muted.
I have an online store where I sell plastic-free items. It's not just about selling, it's also about the education and the harm that single-use plastics are doing to our home the
Mhm.
planet and our
Mhm.
bodies. And
Okay.
so, yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like that. See, one of your core values definitely should be sustainability.
Yeah, it's mine is to do our part reusing, recycling, and conserving our planet's resources in honest and sustainable ways.
Oh, it's awesome. Thank you, Gayla, for sharing. So what qualities do you want your business to be known for?
My business, or you're saying asking the group?
If you can respond, but whomever, I mean, it's for everybody. It's an open forum. Belva, would you like to uh, add anything? What qualities do you want? What qualities do you want your business to be known for?
Premium nutrition
Okay.
and inspiration
Hmm.
and integrity, transparency.
Okay. And so I don't know if those are your core values, but those are core values.
Yes, yes.
Okay. 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 All right. Well, are there any other questions? Okay. And so the next fundamental will be your brand value proposition. Okay. Your brand value proposition is what sets you apart. What's the uniqueness? Why would I buy from you and not buy from a competitor? And so this right here may be like the niche spot in terms of what it is that you offer. So say for instance, if you are the first person to um, sell I don't know, if you're the first person to maybe open up a certain type of business, maybe let's say a Wingstop. I don't know why I thought of a Wingstop, but you do a Wingstop, but you're cooking them in a brick oven or something like that. I mean, that's crazy. But if you were to do that, right? You could deem yourself as the first, brick oven, chicken wing dealer or chicken wing, shop, in the state of Arizona. So there's always a first when it comes to innovation, or maybe you are high on quality, maybe you have a premium brand, you know, um, there's a number of ways that you can identify your uniqueness, but I think that in your brand, you must identify your uniqueness because ultimately you may think that you're selling a product, but actually you're selling a solution. You're selling a solution to someone's problem. So that's what your brand value proposition is. It's a solution to a problem. It's the ability to have someone feel that you have provided them with convenience, that you have a before and after transaction. Those are the key fundamentals when they decide to buy, because ultimately people buy what they understand the fastest, right? So you want to make sure that you have a clear, concise message in terms of who you are, who your offering is, and why should I buy from you. Are there any questions in that regard? Yes, Margarita.
So the first product, that we're going to launch is the Christian Christmas stockings, which is a niche market,
Yeah.
because nobody's really doing that. But that's
Mhm.
not the only product that we're going to do. And so I really struggled with the messaging because I could make a really good position for the stockings being, unique. Nobody else is doing that. But then when you go into the t-shirts or the pillows or, some of the other product lines, then it's like, okay, well then there's plenty of other people doing that type of stuff. And so where do you put your, how do you voice your brand value when you have multiple products?
Well, I believe your niche is not so much your product. Your niche is you are providing Christian merchandise in a market, and you can maybe put a twist on it. Is there anything unique about the merchandise that you are providing? Is it I don't know, does it have feature people of color? I mean, is it Is it any type of the figurines? Are they any ethnicity? You know, so you have to find your niche in the business, not so much the product, because you're gonna have, like, you may sell t-shirts. I mean, you sell stockings, but you sell t-shirts and you sell books, you know, so really it's the overall in providing the product, and which is, you know, Christian based products.
Okay. All right, that makes better sense. Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else have any additional questions about the brand value? Now, this is very important. This is what sets you apart from your competitors. And also, I just wanted to add that as a small business, your competition is not the big box businesses. It's not the Target or the other big retailers. Your competition is really just being able to identify those relationships. And once you identify those, you develop and you nurture those relationships. Okay. So what we're doing, we're trying to build a loyalty base here. Okay. Are there any questions before I move on? Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have the gift basket business, and
Mhm.
there's a lot of gift basket businesses out there. So would a niche for my business be that I have a community service initiative and I make homeless gift baskets every year on Giving Tuesday? Would that be a unique factor for my business?
It possibly could, but how would you, so say for instance, what if another gift basket gives to the homeless?
I see what you're saying.
So you want to make it unique. Where are you located?
I'm in Phoenix,
Where at in Phoenix?
South Phoenix.
Okay, South Phoenix. How about you are South Phoenix top choice for basket basket making, or what is it? So what's the name of your business?
Making Moves with Care.
Okay, Making Moves with Care. So what's the uniqueness about Making Moves with Care other than creating baskets? Is it anything else that you do? Is it anything that you add to it, or is the business, is it, well, you said it's in South Phoenix, you know, so I mean, we can look at a regional. How many other gift basket businesses are in South Phoenix?
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, and so that's another thing that you can always do. I mean, with it being regional, you know, a big difference if, you know, if I don't know, like say, so like say if you're in a smaller town or like in a rural area, you know, you can easily dominate the market, right? But when you're in a city, you know, you have to look at some different dynamics. But I would be curious to know how many gift baskets, and you maybe you may be the only one in South Phoenix.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions, Alyssa?
I don't think so at the moment. We did have a very good suggestion of
Okay.
a unique value proposition for gift baskets, mission-minded gift baskets. So I thought that was a really good suggestion.
Okay. Did you get that?
Yes, thank
Did
you.
Could you
Thank-
put that is that in the chat? I can't see the chat.
Yes, it's in the
Yeah,
chat.
it's in the
Okay,
chat.
good. Now, you know, you have to pay that person that gave you that.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so here are some examples of brand value propositions, okay? So again, I got these off of the respective company's website. But as you see, Uber, basically it says the smartest way to get around. They basically are saying that taxi suck, you know, ride with us. You know, it's simple, right? Slack, be more productive at work with less effort. They're just telling people, you know, I mean, you can chill out and still get stuff done and still be productive. Mizzen in Maine, you can wear a dress shirt all day long. Weebly, they do free websites. Their whole premise is that not only do they do websites, but they are reliability and they target small businesses. HelloFresh, they make meals easy. Who do you think they're talking? Who HelloFresh is speaking to? Because we're going to get into brand voice, but just a question: can anyone think who HelloFresh is speaking to?
Mothers,
Moms.
moms,
Yes.
people,
Working moms.
Working
me,
people.
and
That's right.
moms. Work
That's
from home.
right. And and another dynamic will be is anyone that lives in urban areas, and they don't have time to cook, mothers as well, so they have, and we'll get into the brand voice, but just understand that you can use your brand. Well, it's recommended that you use your brand voice in your brand value proposition, and that's what makes it unique to you, to your business. Okay, and it sets you apart from your competitors. Are there any questions with this? Okay.
Is the brand value proposition the same thing as a slogan?
Well, it can be, it depends on how you want to use it. So in a traditional business, yes, that's what they would use it as a slogan. But what are your brand value proposition? You can definitely tag it, but see what it is that it could be a big sentence, right? A big statement, and then you make it smaller. And once you condense it, then you can use it as your slogan.
Because I always put Munchies cake, and then I put cold cheesecake in a jar. Like that would be my brand value proposition.
Well, it can be, but I would like for you to suggest just to add a little bit more meat to it. Well, not meat to it, add a little bit more to it. And I say that because what if someone else is doing cheesecake in a jar?
Okay.
So we need to add something, but we'll talk about that on the 25th, okay?
Okay. I think it's the 11th.
Is it the 11th?
Yeah. Just
Okay.
to make sure. Thank you.
Oh, you know what? It is the 11th. I apologize. That's someone else on the 25th. But yeah. So on the 11th, definitely.
All right. Thank you.
Do we have any other questions, Alyssa? Okay.
Not at the moment.
Okay. And so what are the key elements when it comes to a brand proposition? So to answer your question, about the slogan and the tagline, when I had said that you wanted to add, just some components about that makes you unique, other than just saying cheesecake in a jar. So this is your unique selling point. Okay, so your unique, I can't even say it. Your unique selling point is actually what's going to connect you with your product with your audience, right? And then you also want to, hold on one second. Yeah. And so you also want to make sure that when it comes to your target audience, that you're speaking directly to them. And we'll get into how we speak directly to your target audience. Your problem or your the need address, that's the way of being able, as a business owner, being able to sympathize, well, not sympathize, empathize with your audience, to say that, okay, I understand your pain point, I understand your problem, and then we get into the solution, which is I provide the solution. Whatever your product or your service is, it is the solution. Okay. And so that's why, with your brand value proposition, there is, just some key words that need to be in there that's very unique to you. And that's what sets you apart from any other person that's selling cheesecake. Then we look at, why is your solution better? You got to tell them why it's better. Is it better because of the quality? Is it better because of the customer service, the detail of it, the ingredients? So those are things that you want to consider. So like if something is fresh, if you're using organic products or organic ingredients, then you want to be able to share that. If you use premium packaging, then you want to make sure that it looks the part, because just as consumers, eyes are we're very visual people, and we're attracted to things that look nice. So that could be, part of your uniqueness, that could be included in your value proposition. But, you have to decide where you would like to go in, whether if you want to focus on quality, or if you want to focus on customer service or whatnot. So there is a variety of features that can be added into why you're different. Are there any questions? None. Okay. And so the burning question that most business owners have is how do I identify my ideal customer, right? Well, your ideal customer is crucial. It's crucial to your business because that's what that's what drives our business, right? But they're not just individuals. There are people that actually need what you offer. And remember, you're selling a solution, right? Solution to a problem. And so we have to be able to identify who are these people that need our product or who need our service, right? And so what I'll do is I'll get into a little bit more of what that means. So that's just an overview of your ideal client. And in terms of a profile, your ideal client, they'll share your core values. They need your unique value. They appreciate your brand voice. You're enjoyable to work with, and they'll be willing to pay your prices. And I don't know how many times, but business owners have said that, people have told them that their products are too high or their services are too high. Well, and ideally, that's just not the right client for you, and I say that because, we're in business to be in business to be able to survive, right? We may enjoy what we offer, but we also want to make sure that we have clients or we have customers that value what we bring. And they also trust that, what we offer. So I'm going to get into something a little bit more way to just be able to form a perspective around those factors. And those factors include the demographics. Now, the demographic, in terms of identifying your ideal client, the demographics are really key. Why? Because it really helps us to form perspective around who our target audience is. I mean, in terms of the age, their gender, their marital status, how much money they make, or the level of education. Those are essential in terms of who you selling to. Why? Because it has everything to do with the price point, how you can price a product. You don't want to price a product too high, and that doesn't meet, and then that's not part of your target market, right? So another thing to consider are the psychographics. The psychographics are the values, their hobbies, their attitudes, their lifestyle, the behavior. What brands do they support? Where are they shopping at? And it's, the thing about it is, like, how do you get this information? You get this information through the relationship. You should actually know the social media platforms that your audience is on. The hobbies that they enjoy. Even if they have children. Those are good points to be able to identify whether if you want to maybe introduce a new product in your store. What channels do they use to seek information? As I shared, social media is a huge platform. Which one do they use? I don't know how many of you use Instagram, but I tell you, Instagram is like ideal for shopping for retail. It gets me in trouble. I mean, because at late at night, I'm on Instagram. It's all kinds of, ads to buy this and buy. I mean, it's the cutest outfits and the cutest little products there, so that's one thing that you want to be able to identify where your target market is. And so, as you can see, I fit off in a demographic of shopping. So, but at any rate, and who they trust, that's ideal. What sets them apart from, from similar people who aren't your customers? Why would they even do business with you? And a lot of times customers, they'll tell you they appreciate you because this, that, and the other, right? Geographics, where they live at. Someone living in rural or someone living in a suburb, their shopping habits is totally different than someone living in an urban area. What are their pain points? Some of the problems, the issues that they're facing in products, especially if you have a skincare line and maybe you have someone that is having some problems with their skin. Being able to have a skincare line and you specialize in organic products, well, then ideally, that this is a potential customer. You talk to them, find out what do they use, what are they looking for, what have they used in the past. Those things are, those components are really helpful in narrowing down who your ideal customer is and being able to provide them with a solution for their problem. Also, I wanted to add their goals and aspirations is just as important as well. And how does that factor into your ideal customer is because it's all about the relationship. And if you think of it kind of like a personal relationship, like if you have a best friend, you know what your friend likes, you know their hobbies, their the bulk of their demographics, the brands that they support, and I use a best friend because that's a relationship that you cherish and you value that relationship. The same as with your business. Like we have to value the relationships that we have, because as small businesses, the best part of being in business is being able to make those relationships and nurture and see them happy. Will anyone they can come off of mute and like to share just some demographic characteristics of their ideal clients? I'm sitting here, I see the same 6 people. So if I call on somebody, please don't take it personal. Justine.
So
I'll answer. Oh.
Okay.
I was just gonna go over to the chat. So if you want to go over to Tian
I
and
can't
let
go over
her.
to the chat. Elisa, you have to help, because I can't see I see the pictures of you right here on the side of the slide.
I'm happy to answer.
Okay.
So my business is a professional birth worker, doula training center. And my target customer, more likely to be a female, a pretty wide range, age range, but probably anywhere from 20 to 60. They have a love for women and passion for women's health, and usually have some level of college education, but it's not required.
Okay.
I don't know though how to focus it, because it's an online business. So I guess I need to know how to focus that even more.
Well, you know what? Maybe we can get into, once we get into the brand voice, I think that may be a connection for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions, Alyssa?
I have a question. My name is Bailey, and I own a pop-up restaurant. And so I'm kind of thinking among all this with the customer base, or what is the customer profile, that I would have different kind of customers depending on where I'm operating that day. So do I kind of have the right thinking in that? And I guess, how should I approach creating maybe different marketing or branding for different customer profiles?
Well, what I would share with you is that from a branding standpoint, your brand identity is solid. That doesn't change. So your marketing strategies may change. So when you say that, so with you being a pop-up, that means you're in different areas, right? Different communities?
Exactly.
Okay. So when you pick those different communities to do pop-ups, are those communities in alignment with your brand identity?
Yeah, and I would say actually I could think of kind of 2 categories. So my business's value proposition is that we are bringing local heirloom and nutritious food to people on, we'll say not any budget, but trying to achieve that it would be affordable to people on any budget. So we have kind of the people who maybe not like the downtown centric people that are into sustainability. That is, I think, a group that would purchase our product, but we also want to reach people in neighborhoods that are food deserts, and they may not have that kind of access. So I guess I'm also trying to consider those 2 pools are kind of, I would say they're kind of different as far as income, race, age, values, and interests, but we want to serve both of them.
What are your core? Well, you know what? So you want to go back and revisit your core values.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because your core values will essentially connect you with who your ideal customers are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay if you have, people that are in underserved communities. That's
Mm-hmm.
okay. And all, so if you're in underserved communities as well as affluent communities, I mean, your core values still can be the same. And I think that sustainability, I mean, that could really be for any economic status, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? But in terms of maybe the product that you have, so maybe if you're going in an underserved community, you may have different products as opposed to if you were in a affluent community.
Mm-hmm.
Is that
I
right
see
or
what you're
wrong?
saying. I think we don't have different products, but we've tried to kind of combine like different tastes in a single menu. So we're making some kind of Mexican dishes, but we're sort of adding a more nutritious twist on them. So rather than like an entirely different menu, say if we go to a predominantly Mexican neighborhood or community, it'll still be the same product that they might be familiar with, but just also kind of like a little bit different than they've seen before.
Yeah. And so the thing about just going into different communities, you may want to maybe alter your menu a bit,
Okay.
And also what I would suggest is that so I don't know, like eggplant. And eggplant is like I don't know, it's like a really difficult vegetable to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not something that's like this natural for me, but I would eat eggplant if I knew how to prepare it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is that like if you're going into a neighborhood where it may be underserved, if they don't know anything about eggplant, you may want to prepare it. You may want to show them different ways that they can use it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be, really helpful in terms of identifying, because the thing about, your ideal customer, sometimes there is an education component. You have to teach people, but again, it has everything to do with, the core values in terms of how you attract and how you connect with people.
Got it. Thank you for that input.
You're welcome.
Farida, did you have a question?
So we were talking about the demographics, and one thing that happened to me is that at first I started my brand thinking of the people that like to smoke cannabis. And in some point they get the munchies. That is that when they are craving something to eat, like really like nachos with cheese and carne asada, or this yummy stuff. So I originally created this for thinking of the people that have that type of cravings. But now I haven't, I feel, because I don't know if they eat it when they smoke, I don't know, but I feel like that hasn't been my my customers now. So I don't know if I don't know what my if I should make changes in my identity or just adjust my customers, or I'm struggling in that side too.
Do you desire to keep those customers?
Excuse me?
Do you desire to keep those customers, the customers with the munchies? The weed smoking customers, I'm sorry, the cannabis smoking customers?
It's fine. Well, no, I think it could work in that community, but I just haven't got in that community.
Well, what I would suggest is if you desire to have those customers, then I would likely name my cheesecake in a jar after the various strands of cannabis, so they would know. So like, just name a strand. I think I remember someone saying something about a blueberry. You may want a blueberry, and so I'm just throwing some things out there, but you may want to at least name them with names that is connected to a strand of cannabis.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Good idea.
Are we ready to go? Alyssa? Okay. All right. All right. So now we get into the brand voice. And the brand voice is how we communicate across all levels, okay? And that, again, that goes from emails to letters to social media, even how we interact with our customers, right? And one thing that I did that I can't remember, someone had said something about the brand voice, but anyway, this is the most essential point in your brand identity, because who your ideal client is, you have to know how to speak their language. You know, you have to know how to speak to them. And so that's why it's really good to be able to capture as much information about who your ideal client is, because then it will help you be able to communicate with them. The way that you would communicate with, say, if a young woman, so say, for instance, if we have a shoe company and a woman between the ages of 21 to 25, let's just say between that age, that would be college age, maybe. Is that college age? No, it wouldn't. Well, at any rate, in your 20s, the way you communicate about shoes will be totally different than the way you would communicate with a woman that's in her 50s or 60s about shoes, right? And so you have to know the language to use in order to make that appealing, because remember, what are we selling? We're selling a solution. So typically a woman in her 20s, they're into wearing high heels, right? Whereas a woman that's in her 50s or 60s, high heels would not be the first option, you know, more or less like a kitten heel. So you want to make sure, like, so you can sell shoes, right? But the way you communicate what you're selling and who you're speaking to has a lot to do with who your brand voice is and how others identify with who you're speaking to. Does that make sense? And also, this is the third fundamental of your brand discovery. So when we look at brand voice, I'm gonna give you a few examples and then we'll get into the components in discovering our brand voice. So when we think of Dove, right? Dove voice is encouraging. Harley Davidson, strong and aggressive. Oh, and again, I pulled this information off their website. So, but is it strong and aggressive, which is essentially open for the bikers that just really want to open road. That's all they want. They just want to open road and they want to go fast. Tiffany and Company. Tiffany is a classical brand, witty, elegant, classic, and essentially their voice is classic and elegant, and it resonates with their consumers, right? Coca-Cola, positive, friendly, and down to earth. I don't know. And they also have vivid images, right? I don't know if you remember the commercial when the polar bear was drinking a Coca-Cola, you know, and so the uniqueness that I like with Coca-Cola is that no matter what they have, whether it's a person, a polar bear, or whatever, it's always happy, you know, so that's their brand voice, is being able to communicate happiness. Uber, I use Uber again because they're straightforward and they're easy to understand. That's their brand voice. And as we look at, you know, brand voices, I know it could be challenging to identify who our brand voice is, but again, if we can at least narrow down who our ideal client is or who we want our ideal client to be, then we know how to communicate and we can use the language that's most appropriate to attract their attention. Is there any questions about this before I get into some components in our brand voice? Okay. So the steps to define a consistent brand voice is understand your target audience. That means you have to know how to connect with them. You have to know, you know, the demographics. You have to know, you know, their hobbies, you know, where they live at, you know, where they coming from, you know, the brands they support. Clarify your brand's values and personality. Both concepts it really sets the tone for the style and the voice, the tone of your brand. Develop a voice guide and a style guide. That's essentially a document where you keep inventory of everything about your brand identity, because essentially we may be a small business now, but we're going to grow, right? And as we grow, we want to make sure that we have a blueprint for, as we bring people on, that they at least have a guide to make sure that the voice is consistent and everything else about the brand is consistent. Train your team. When people come work for you, you want to make sure that they have your ideal voice as well. And I mention this because sometimes in small businesses, we will hire someone to maybe do the social media. And so that voice guide book would really be a good piece, documentation to make sure that whomever is doing the social media, that they're on brand and that they're on point in terms of using the voice that's most identified with the brand. Review and revise regularly. Just as marketing trends change, customer preferences change, your brand voice may need to shift too. One brand I would like to mention is Wendy's. When I was growing up, Wendy's was not as snarly as they are now. Have anyone logged into Wendy's IG before? Okay, well, you are in for a comical session, because who's ever running their IG, I mean, it's hilarious. But the thing about it is their brand voice. They have it was a ad they had years ago. It was called "Where's the Beef?" Well, they took that and they repurposed the "Where's the Beef?" So they made a CD called "Where's the Beef?" I mean, a mixtape called "Where's the Beef?" Right. And so really just speaking to their brand voice, you know, it is a bit sarcastic, and it pokes fun at the other, you know, at the other food chains. But again, their appeal is on Instagram, and it's to millennials. So, you know, that's just, you know, just one example that I wanted to also highlight when we look at brand voices. Are there any questions about brand voice? Okay.
I'm not quite sure how you stay consistent like that, or like what that really translates to. Because I kind of feel like your messaging is, I don't know how to define it, but it just would be natural because that's what's at your core, right? So I wouldn't know how to tell somebody else to talk like me, you know, or to, you know, that if you're going to handle my social media, this is how you need to sound. I mean, I don't quite get that part of it.
Okay. Well, actually, there are some areas like, is your voice joyful? Just as I, you know, shared with like Coca-Cola, they're happy, you know, so you could be joyful. Are you serious? You know, are you informative? Some other descriptions are, is your voice intimate? You know, Tiffany, they're elegant, you know, they're classic, you know, so there are a variety of voices that you can use. But what I always say is that you want to show up and you want to be authentic. And I say that because when you're authentic, you can't get tired of being you. But when you show up as someone else and you use someone else's voice, it's just, I don't know, it's almost like at some point you're going to get tired, right? And then you also start, you know, lacking in being consistent. When you're authentic, you're consistent. And how you would label your voice, I'm just going to say, because Margarita, you and I, we spoke before, and what I learned about your business is that it is a Christian-based business, and your focus is more or less on, you know, Christian merchandise, right? So your voice would be loving, right? Okay. How about compassionate, you know, empathy? What else? I would maybe say, you know, so I just used those. So you get the gist of it?
I get it now. I was thinking more, I guess, specific. to it that, but yes, you're talking like, yes, I need you to be joyful. I need you to be, you know, that kind of way. Like I would not get my grumpy brother to write on my social media, you know?
Okay. Okay. Well, you know what? Since I did not answer your question, if you could just say it again, just clarify it, and I will try my best to answer your question.
Oh, no, you did answer it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Did anyone else you have a question, Fa? Okay.
I was gonna say, Farida, do you have I'm sorry, it's Farida. Do you have a question?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, I have my hand, sorry.
All right. So now we transition, once we have identified our core values, which is the foundation of our brand identity, right? And then we have identified our unique value proposition, why people should spend their money with us and nobody else, right? And then we have went into our ideal customer. Now we just finished brand voice, and now we arrive at the visual identity. It's almost like this is the wrapping on the bow tie on the brand, right? So the visual identity is the elements, it's the design of the brand. And one thing that I cannot say enough, I'm not a graphic designer, but I strongly recommend that when it comes to your logo, please get that done professionally, because when it comes to a graphic designer is skilled in so many ways, and they understand the elements of design, and they are extremely skilled in being able to communicate without words. And that's really like the symbol or the emblem of your logo. But there's also some other things that embodies what the visual identity is, and I'm gonna go ahead and get into those components. Oh, first of all, let me go through the examples. So as you can see, I have Google's examples, and I remember, I think it was someone that said something about the colors. So we'll get into the colors because that ties into the visual identity. But we have Google here, we have McDonald's, and we have Southwest. Can anyone identify just what stands out about their logos?
The colors.
The colors. What do you think about? What do you see in the colors, Justine?
I remember a class I took in high school that taught you certain, you know, when you see certain colors that you're supposed to ignite certain things within you. So red, hunger, passion, anger, you know, excitement, things like that. Blue and green, calm, and things like that. Hunger. So these businesses are targeting your mind with their colors without words.
Right.
The colors are speaking to you.
Right, right.
And yellow is happiness, right?
You said what? Yellow?
The yellow is the happiness.
Yes, it is happiness. And I remember yellow also being education as well. You know, green is environmental. You know, I'm getting ahead of myself. So yeah, so these are the colors when it comes to the visual identities. And also not so much the color, but just the design. I don't know if you ever have went online and read how the Google logo was created. Man, I'm gonna tell you, it is so impressive in terms of just the dynamics that went into creating the G, and just making sure that the G was consistent. And it's just, I don't know, just the matrix of it. I mean, I was just, you know, really fascinated by it. But at any rate, these are some visual identities here, and I'm more than sure that these organizations here have made a connection with you at somewhere along the line where it stood out, and you was able to, you know, recognize that brand without even seeing the name of it, right? Especially the McDonald's arches. We know that anywhere. So the key elements in your visual, your brand's visual identity, the logo. So, you know, we touched on the logo, and we just want to make sure that it's distinct in terms of how it looks. You want to make sure that it's recognizable. That actually sets you apart from other businesses. I don't know of any two businesses with the same logo. I don't know if any of you saw Coming to America, but Eddie Murphy had mimicked McDonald's, but he called it McDowell's. And he used the same arches, but he had the arches like further out. It wasn't as close as the McDonald's logo. And, you know, he got in trouble for that, you know, so that's one thing that we really have to be mindful of when we create logos, or even going to AI and doing the generated logos. So those things are not copywritten. So that's just a precaution, you know, if you wanted to access that. So I always recommend going to a professional to be able to design your logo, because not only are they great in design elements, but they're just as good in color palette. So just as you said, you shared, Justine, color, there is a color psychology when it comes to colors. Colors have a great imprint on terms of what attracts us and what it means, and how it makes us feel. So there are emotions that's attached to color. Target is a prime example of using emotions. I don't know how often any of you go in Target, but you go in Target with just a few items and you come out with a whole basket full of stuff, and that wasn't the intention, because the way it's set up, and I'm getting ahead of myself, with the composition, the layout of the store has a lot to do with the mindset in terms of feeling that, okay, it's convenient, and so you're shopping and you're getting more and getting more. So, but anyway, the color palette is one, the typography is one. So when we look at fonts in the way they're used, what may look good on paper may not necessarily look good on a website. I don't know if any of you ever had a font, and you used a font on maybe on a laptop, but then the way it converts to a t-shirt just doesn't look good, you know, and that's because you know, you have to find a font that works as functional across all boards. And that's why I had brought up how Google had put so much into investing into their logo and making sure that it's the same no matter what platform it's on. So I just highly recommend that you consider the fonts, and the fonts is tied to the brand identity as well as the imagery, photos that we use when we use them on our website, or we use them on our stationery or whatnot. You want to make sure there are clean, crisp colors. You want to make sure that the lighting is appropriate. And it also provides the best visual. I know on Instagram, there are all kinds of content creators there sharing with people of how to take, you know, pictures and things like that. So you want to make sure that those photos definitely align with your visual identity of your brand. And also, again, the layout and composition. The layout and composition is critical exclusively to being in a storefront. A storefront, the way it's laid out has a lot to do with the time that people spend in the store. So those are just some few things to few things to touch on. And also I wanted to share that the layout on your website, if you're an online business and you have the way your website is laid out has a lot to do with your brand's visual identity as well. So are there any questions? Okay. So just to sum it up, in conclusion, your core values are more than just words. They guide your actions and your decisions. And they also, and remember, they are your why in your business. Your value proposition is your promise to your customer. It outlines what sets you apart from your competitors. And knowing your ideal client is crucial. They're not just, your ideal client is not just anyone. So don't be afraid to niche down and be able to identify who their target audience is and target them, right? And you want to make sure that as you target them, that you use the language and lingo that is familiar with them, so that they know that you are talking exactly to them. And then finally, when we look at your visual identity is your presence. It's how your brand communicates with others visually. So I just want you to, just to keep in mind that these are fundamentals. The methodology is actually more more parallel for small businesses. And you can take what, what works for you and what doesn't. And what doesn't work for you, you can share it with someone else. But I will share that, just being a small business, that the uniqueness that you have aside of, well, not aside, but different from the bigger businesses, is that you have the opportunity to develop relationships, and relationships are essential to your business. Are there any questions?
Don't see anything new in the chat.
Okay. Well, Alyssa, do you have anything?
I was just going to share, I did have a few folks ask about recording. So yes, we did record the session tonight. We are going to eventually get that up on our local learning lab. So I will make sure that all of you folks that have attended do have that link. Also after tonight, before the end of the week, I will be sending out the slide deck as well. And also a link to all of our future upcoming events that we have here at Local First Arizona. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining us tonight. I know it's time away from your family, but we really enjoyed coming together, and I just thought it was all interesting too, that it was all, I think, women tonight. So I think that was a really exciting aspect as well. So thank you so much for your time. Anita, was there anything else that you wanted to share?
Well, I also wanted to share that EST, which is the entrepreneurial support team, we provide a variety of support services. So just as Alyssa, you shared that it's all women, I strongly recommend that if you are ready to go after the women's certification, Turquoise Kirby Bell is awesome. She is one of my colleagues, and she is the ideal person that you can speak with about women-owned business certification, as well as a variety of other business certifications as well. And we also have Marcus Brown, which is our financial expert. So we provide a plethora of services. Feel free to reach out. Alyssa, I didn't have my information there, but if you could, when you share the deck, if you would share that as well. So if you think you have any questions, later, feel free to email me. I will connect you again. One of my core values is, if I don't know everything, but I'm willing to find a solution. So feel free to give me a call. I'm here to help you.
Thank you so much, Anita. And I was going to say, you need to, I'll make sure that we get that support form submitted about marketing as well. I know you had some additional questions about that too. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Have a lovely evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, good night.
Bye.
Thank you, Anita.
You're welcome.